What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Around the Metaverse, our weekly show where we bring together some of the best content creators from the blockchain and NFT gaming community, talk about all the recent news, and give you guys everything you need to know to stay up to date. My name's Adam. I'll be your host today, but more importantly, we have another great group of guests for y'all, including some new faces to the show tonight. But first and foremost, we got Crypto Stache in the house, the best mustache in the West. How's it going, man? A little bit of a tongue twister.
Did you almost say the butt mustache in the West?
No, the best mustache in the West. It's 7 p.m., man. I only had one cup of coffee today. I'm sorry.
It's all good, man. Good to be here as always. Glad to have you guys all hanging out with us on Monday. I know it's hard. Monday's kind of hard, but I like this show, man. So we have fun here, and hopefully you guys enjoy it on your Mondays too.
Yeah, Monday's the best day of the week, man. Well, second best, I guess, if you count Friday. But we got another returning face and friend of the show. We got Miss Teen Crypto. How's it going today, Miss Teen Crypto?
Thank you for having me, Alex, Stache. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling zesty. Had a really good show earlier, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, your background looks awesome. What's up with what's going on back there?
Well, thank you to Supremacy, first of all. This is their gift to me. It was a background, and it's basically a futuristic apartment that's based off of my faction, like my team in the game called Red Mountain. So if you see here, I have like a little Miss Teen Crypto thing dangling. I have my NFTs in there. So it's pretty dope. And I feel like, if I have like an apartment in some metaverse, I would want it to look like this a little bit.
Hold on. We got a problem here, Adam. There's an issue. She's rolling with the opposite faction. I'm all Zabatsu here, and so we may have to find another guest.
No, you know what? We're gonna have to battle. Red Mountain was killing it. I was live streaming the other night. We were killing the game.
Right now, fight to the death. Let's take it over to
Let's
Supremacy.
Go, Winner buys the other one in and out.
All right, I'm on with that one.
Good deal.
That sounds good.
No, but We got a couple new faces to the show tonight, and happy to introduce these guys for their first time on Around the Metaverse. We got Luke,
Woo.
Play to Earn, YouTube content creator and gaming content executive at Balthazar DAO. How you doing tonight, Luke?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me on the show. I mean, I'm grateful to be here. It's been a sucky week because I've been trying to kick COVID out of my system. But hey, you know what? I thought the show was so good. I'm like, I got to get on. So whatever it takes, glad to be here.
Well, we appreciate it, man, and I know you've been kicking COVID's ass the past week too. So we're thankful to have you on the show tonight. And last but certainly not least, we got Igor from Igor's NFT Life. And I know it's late over there in Europe too, so thank you for staying up late with us tonight and hopping on the show. How's it going tonight, Igor?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here, but for a show like this, you gotta get up and let's talk all things metaverse.
Appreciate it, man. And we have a jam-packed show for y'all to talk about today with some pretty crazy news that if you were keeping your eyes out, you probably saw some of, but at this point, it's probably all taken down. So you might not be able to see as much as you'd like. We're going to be talking about a couple different cash grabs. Oh, and and also last and certainly not least, the ETH merge and what the future spells with the successful ETH merge for crypto, NFTs, the metaverse, and all of us kind of trying to make a living in it. But let's jump right into things. First and foremost, probably the biggest news of the night here. Recently, I think maybe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, like 60 different videos or like snippets of content were released of development from Grand Theft Auto 6 that if you were to go look for now would be scoured off the internet because Rockstar and Take-Two did a real good job taking it all down as quickly as possible. And whoever the guy was that leaked it, he disappeared real quick, I'm sure. But no, I want to get your guys' thoughts on GTA 6 as the game itself and kind of how it might play into what we consider the metaverse. On a previous episode, we talked about there were also rumors of Grand Theft Auto potentially incorporating some kind of tradable cryptocurrency. I think those rumors were more along the lines of like, here's going to be a digital crypto you can trade in the game, like paper trading, and not necessarily a real cryptocurrency. But who knows? And that's what I want to ask you guys about. So Stache, let me start with you. I mean, like, how do you think an open world sandbox game like GTA 6, I mean, especially one where you can basically do anything, you could steal a car, shoot up the gas station or rob a bank, whatever you want to do. How does that tie into the concept of the metaverse?
I mean, the good thing is you can be a good guy in GTA. Is there a possible way, like commit no crimes, kill no people, steal nothing? I don't know if it's possible anymore. I feel like it was at one point in GTA, but I don't know that you can get by without just being a good guy. But with that being said, as a metaverse and how GTA kind of like works into that, we talked about this too. Well, a lot of us here in crypto kind of feel like, oh, a metaverse is a term that we're kind of helping to build, but truly metaverses have been around for a while. In the scope of like, okay, a multiplayer game that is a kind of a sandbox experience where, there's more to do than just this kind of core game loop, right? You can, there's a focus on socialization, right? Where people are socializing, they're hanging out. They're not just focusing on like, okay, what's the next quest? What's the next mission? What's the next, part of the story I'm going to unveil, but just kind of generally hanging out with each other. And so I think that, we see that in games right now, like Fortnite. I talked about this and have made the case many times. Fortnite is probably one of the, and when it comes to metaverse, is the biggest one. And because people are not only just going in there to go pew pew, but they're going in there because they can hang out with their friends. They're talking with them. It's a way for them to jump on and socialize, with people who are maybe, down the street or across the globe. And so, this is very early, no matter what you want to look at as a definition for metaverse, right? So we're very early with some of these things, but I think that, GTA has a lot of those elements too. It's a very open, sandboxy type of world where you can kind of go and, make your own way, as it were, right? Do what you want to do. But to me, a real true metaverse is really something that is a connected experience, right? It's a metaverse really, to me, is multi-experiences connected together that, kind of give you this seamless back and forth between, what's going on. So maybe you're going from Minecraft into GTA into Fortnite, and, it's a seamless experience. You're not having to jump off, load another launcher, and then yet another launcher. You know what I'm saying? To get into these games, but it's a way to access everything pretty easily, and hopefully there's interoperability, right? Hopefully you can take a character and, you know, maybe at the highest quality, it's like a GTA or something of that, like where it's you know, kind of realistic, and then it can degrade down into a Fortnite quality where it's a little bit more cartoonish, and it does this automatically, right? And then it degrades down into Minecraft where you're just like this pixelated piece of pile of shit, right? I mean, I think that's kind of what we want to see and what we'll get to, right? I mean, you know, just saying, like, you're just a big pile of like ugly looking pixels, man. I mean, you know, Minecraft's not my faves. And not that I hate it, but, you know, it's not my personal style. But that's what we want to see, and I think we'll get there. But it's a hard thing to do. And you know, GTA kind of fits in there. They fit in there somewhere. But you know, with these latest leaks, you know, when you talk about, well, is this something that they maybe orchestrated? Who knows? Did someone actually hack them and leak them? You know, maybe. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you know, this is a great way to build hype as a game is getting ready to release in like, you know, 6 to 8 months. So I don't know. Now, could some of this stuff maybe been prevented with some blockchain technology or NFTs? I mean, possibly. You know, the way that we look at you know, game development and game design, the approach that we take here in crypto is a little bit different, I think, than your normal game design. And, you know, it's more of an open and transparent process. And that's not what Take-Two is doing here. You know, they're not about open and transparent. They want to keep it closed. Like, we don't want anything to leak until it's ready, and then we're going to put it out. And I think we're moving away from that as a format for development here in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be funny, right, if it all turns out that this was just some kind of giant psyop and Take-Two like planted this guy to like, oh no, we leaked all this stuff, and then
it's a clever marketing ploy.
It all disappears within 48 hours. It's something miraculously like impossible to find everything after 2 days. But I don't know. I mean, you know, it's interesting to think, you know, how games like that fit in. And I think you're right. Like in GTA, for example, I know tons of people who like, well, you can make like custom racing maps with like they have a building system in there where you can, you know, set up your own maps, just like in Roblox or in Fortnite or things like that. People go in there, hang out, and have a good time with their friends, and they don't necessarily commit crimes all the time, I guess. So, you know, it could be if there was a way for that to tie in with other experiences. I think you're like it becomes more of a metaverse. But to do that, like you said, we need to get to a point where, I mean, where things like this might be more easily facilitated by having a standard sort of technology backbone, things that like payment rails and, you know, different ways to verify digital ownership of your assets in different games across, you know, all these different IPs and things. And what can we do that with? I don't know. Maybe blockchain, that might work. But that's why I think it's such a no-brainer for a game like GTA to potentially in the future include something like NFTs. Igor, let me ask you, I mean, do you think it would make sense for Take-Two and Rockstar to consider including NFTs in GTA 6? Like, why or why not?
Short form, no. The longer answer is, first we would need to define metaverse. And I think GTA is interesting because it ticks most of the boxes. Most people would agree, right? It's super open. You can custom build. You can live in your entire world. You can set up a custom server and do your own thing. But the main thing that we talk about here is player ownership, right? That's one of the main things that a true metaverse has to tick off. And that box, I don't think they will do that ever, because you kind of have to build that in at the ground floor. I don't think you can just add it on. Just like with Fortnite, sure, some of the new skins could be NFTs, but it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't be in the DNA of the entire game. And I don't think that you can just add it on to something and compete with other products that were built from the ground up with that ethos built into the ground floor. So, and not even talking about the repercussions with the public, right? I think it's a different story if you start to storytell around the game, that it has this element of player ownership built in right away, as in adding it onto something that had 6 massively successful iterations. And especially with a game like GTA, I don't think the decision makers behind it would ever go down that route, because we're talking about the most successful game franchise on planet Earth, right? The playbook there, okay, yeah, but in that category, the playbook there is not innovate and out innovate the newcomers. The playbook there is maintain your position. And I don't think you do that by adding something that hasn't proven itself in the marketplace yet. So I think it has to be ground up built on player ownership for it to work. And I don't think they will add that.
Yeah, they're too big to take the risk at this point, right? And actually, much to Stache's dismay, I think the most popular game ever is Minecraft.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm pretty sure
when
it
you talk
is.
about, but when you talk about like long stand, like dynasty of games, you know, yeah, GTA is definitely up there, man. With like because
they're
they
the
made
biggest
so many.
like franchise.
Yeah, it's huge franchise.
I mean,
and
not just the
and
GTA
honestly,
franchise too, but like Red Dead and all that stuff too.
Yeah, there's a couple other like then like obviously Call of Duty is a huge one, right? They've gone through total multiple iterations. Warcraft has definitely become one as well. That's been around for a long time. I don't know, man. I definitely understand your point there. I might disagree with that because I think that what you could do is when you talk about NFTs coming to a game, most of these games that already have skins, they could literally just keep the same system. You don't even have to say they're NFTs, and they could literally just work as NFTs in the background. And then eventually, Epic decides like, hey, we're gonna just open these up, and now we have our own store, and we're gonna allow you to trade your skins on that store. And you don't even have to mention the term NFT. The big change would be being able to trade your items, and what I'm saying, which would then essentially give you ownership of those items. It may not be a full decentralized wallet ownership, but obfuscating to a point where that's all they're really changing about that game.
I agree. Maybe I would add to that, like, yes, obviously that's possible, but I think the real interesting aspect of having, let's say, skins or in-game items as NFTs is when it becomes truly interoperable, because just trading it inside the game isn't the real value proposition that we're looking for here. I focus on other sides on my channel a lot, and Herman Narula, the guy behind the tech there, he talks about this a lot, and he always mentions one word. It's just it gets repeated over and over again, and it's platform. The whole thing is a platform. That's when it really becomes a metaverse. And in that case, GTA would just be one thing that links into the platform, and that would diminish the value of the whole game. So yeah, it's hard. Well, I think for the NFTs to be valuable, you kind of have to be able to take them out of the game and move them elsewhere, move them into your MetaMask, etc. But that doesn't really make sense with the model of GTA. So there needs to be some kind of innovative game mechanic for that to make sense. I think right now the game is kind of perfect how they're building it. It's really good at what it does.
Well, so we do have one example though of a blockchain version of GTA. I mean, on Engine, over at my metaverse, they run, like you said, a custom GTA 5 server that's already hooked up with NFTs and things like that. And I'm curious to see like, if we'll ever get to a point where people will prefer to play with that sort of functionality attached to their game compared to the original GTA. And Luke, let me ask you. I mean,
hold on. I just like last point. I want to jump on Igor because he had some really great comments here. I totally agree with you about the platform idea, and I think that's where we see, and this personally where I see Unreal Engine kind of coming in to be that kind of platform, or a Unity, right? Where they have those tools just built in directly, and then when you talk about interoperability, every game using Unreal Engine or Unity could easily then incorporate those things, and we have that kind of that platform that you can build off of, and it's kind of native to it versus like what you said, kind of throwing it on a game that already works. GTA, like why would you do at this point take the risk? It wouldn't make sense unless you had those rails. So yeah, but great comments.
Sure. Well, no, I mean even if they did take the risk, you brought up a good point, Igor, too, of like how it would go over with the public also.
Luke, that one's undeniable for sure.
That one's undeniable. I mean, let me ask you, Luke, like, do you think a massive game like GTA 6, including something new like NFTs would go over well for the franchise in the long run? I mean, would it be the last GTA? Probably.
Yeah, I think it's too early right now. I think there is way too much backlash from the entire public. I mean, when I talk to my non-NFT gaming friends, what they know of is, hey, these things are scams, or they are hurting the environment, or they just look at the games and they think they're ridiculous because they see $1,000 NFT to just start the game, which is just not going to be reasonable for any Web2 gamer. And I don't think the way forward is necessarily that these big games, Fortnite, GTA, Minecraft, releases NFTs and then everyone becomes in love with NFTs. I think it's more so going to be one of those finally big games that is coming, pops off, whether that's Illuvium or Phantom Galaxies or something that just Web2 gamers would play and slowly warm up to the idea of NFTs. NFTs are definitely growing more and more mainstream, but until they get rid of those barriers, I think it's just going to be pretty much suicide for any of those massive games to take that risk. Kind of what you're saying, Igor, like what's the point of taking that risk right now when there's not really much to gain and there's everything to lose?
Plus,
Yeah,
you're giving up
especially,
all like earnings with the skins,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Most of it.
and like gaming
Lose,
is
lose.
like, I mean, pretty recession proof. You know what I mean? Like, what do you want to do? Like when you're not going out getting food and things like that, play video games. You know. But no, Miss Teen Crypto. Let me ask you, Luke and Igor and Stache bring up good points in that, like, I don't think the mainstream is ready, even if the technology were ready, which it isn't, and even if game studios and public like developers and publishers were ready, which they aren't. Like, why do you think it is that the public, traditional gamers, hate NFTs and crypto for the most part?
I think it's about the money, kind of. I think when you're first coming into NFTs and the projects, you kind of get scared to like, oh, I have to pay X amount of dollars just to get into this game, like a few $100. That's already intimidating. And on top of that, a lot of the people in the NFT gaming space care about the value of like their entry NFT going up. And they're kind of riding on the game and the hype of the game for that value to increase. Very few of the time is it actually about the game, and I think that's probably what scares a lot of them off. It's automatically like, oh, money, floor price this, floor price that, token this, token that, instead of just being like, hey guys, here's a really cool game, start playing it, earn some NFTs or some skins, and do what you want with it. Here's a token that you could use like A, B, and C, just like in Fortnite with your V-Bucks. It just needs to be easier. It needs to just be more simple. I think the money part scares the gamers. I don't even think it's like the self-custody issue. I think self-custody itself is its own barrier to entry. Like, even getting someone into Bitcoin, writing those 12 to 24 seed phrases for a MetaMask or a wallet, that's already a barrier. So I guess we have to get easier wallets, which we kind of do have in some aspects. But again, like it's just not there yet. Like some wallets don't work with other apps. That's a whole other issue. I think what scares people the most is the barrier to entry with self-custody and the money. Take that away and just focus on the games.
Well, yeah, and when you talk
Maybe-
about go for it, Igor.
Oh yeah. I think you just outlined it perfectly. I really see this clearly in front of me because unfortunately I had to spend some time on TikTok recently, and I spent a lot of time in the comments, especially in all the Web3 gaming videos. And the thing is, there's a group of people that are just haters, and okay, let's disregard this. But some people make such good points. If you start listening to them, you realize that there's valid points here, right? But the main thing I was able to extract from those valid points is it's just a different mindset. All of us here and everybody listening to the stream right now probably has more of a forward thinking mindset where we look at these things and we're like, wow, but this is a game changer. What are you talking about? But then you talk to a different person and they're not thinking like a chess player. They're not thinking 2 moves ahead. They're thinking of today. They open up the thing, it's clunky, it requires a lot of money. Like, what the hell? I don't want to even touch this. They're not thinking ahead, and they're not trying to think ahead. They're not early adopters, and they're not investors. And you're not going to be able to communicate with a person like that on one level unless you accept that, okay, we're just talking in different timelines, my friend. So that's
Traditional gaming is playing checkers, and Web3 gaming, we're playing chess, guys.
Ooh.
One
Trademark that.
One interesting bridge that I'm seeing being created, though, is definitely the side of esports has seemed to do a better job at connecting with NFTs and crypto. Like, I don't know if you guys saw last week, the Guild of Guardians, they announced they have 8 major esport teams. It's like Team Liquid, SKT, like some of the biggest brands in this space. You got, Vitality, they're sponsored by Tezos. You got League of Legends, they have the XTX or FTX Gold Graph, stuff like that. And for some reason, it seems like the esports genre has been able to break into Web3 a little bit more than the rest of the gaming world.
That might be because of the money on it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, Top Shot kind of opened that up, especially with the sports side, because when NFTs were first really, really hot, everyone was jumping into Top Shot. And a lot of people's first NFT was on Top Shot. So I think that kind of opened it up for like the sports people a lot too.
Well, yeah, and I mean, Top Shot, like, and Bored Apes probably together were like what sparked off, I think, everyone's interest in NFTs, and then they
Ridiculous.
kind of encroached their way into gaming a bit more once Axie came into the spotlight with Play to Earn, and its kind of massive attention. But I think you brought up a good point too, MTC, that like what a lot of people get scared off of is one, and Igor too, like the clunkiness of it, how we're not really at a point where like you said, you have to know how to sign up for a MetaMask, and like if you think about the concept of a metaverse, like if you're playing one game on Ethereum and another game on Solana, you need to have two different wallets. You need to be able to probably sign into both wallets and sign different transactions from both. Like that's not a seamless experience. Like I don't
No.
know what you mean metaverse. Like when I got to sign 18 different transactions just to play a game. Um, and the second part too that was a good point was like the money part of it too. And our next topic here is kind of talking about another game in Web3 that we kind of know and love on the channel that is starting to put out more things that are, I mean, at least in my opinion, a little bit questionable when it comes to the money and where they're at and what they should be doing. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about, is this new drop from Splinterlands, these generative PFPs coming, is this going to be a cash grab? I mean, I don't know if all of y'all are familiar with Splinterlands. I know Stache is, but it's one of the top TCGs that works as multi-chain, works on Wax, works on Hive, and a whole bunch of other chains. There's SPS on BNB and all this stuff. But now they're even coming out with another drop on Ethereum, nonetheless, for generative PFPs that are going to be able to be used in game as an extra rare limited edition card. These cards are going to go for about $500 in Ethereum, or half price if you get a whitelist and you're involved in the Splinterlands community. There's a way to do that. But I want to get your guys' opinions on what this kind of means for them as a game, and if this is what they should be putting a focus on right now. Stats, let me start with you. I mean, why do you think Splinterlands is launching another mint or a drop right after they just released a new series of cards, and they still haven't said anything about the land NFTs that they also minted out, a long ass time ago and have made tons and tons of money on?
Man, I wish I knew the question. I mean, I wish I knew the answer to that question. I wish I knew the question too. Splinterlands has been one of my go-tos for a long time. I love the team. I love what they're doing. When it comes down to longevity and projects that have built from the ground up and have done it right, they've been in this game, for the last 4 years. And in general, they're a model. I feel like that when it comes to Web3 game, really seeing what they do. But here recently, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like seeing all the stuff that they're working on and that is coming and announcements that they've made, it's a bit confusing, man. So just to kind of even put the picture a little bit bigger, they just dropped an expansion set called Chaos Legion, like quite a few months. It was maybe like 6 months ago or 8 months ago, something like that. I don't remember the exact date of the drop. And now they're doing a new set, which, okay, I can get that. But on top of that, there's extra things that they're doing too. Now they've announced that they're doing a tower defense game, which is going to be tied into the ecosystem. They made an announcement that they're going to be working on some sort of like football game, not American football, but what we call soccer here, in some sort of way, with a weird partnership there. And then on top of that, they've still not done anything with land, which, like you said, they sold a lot. They sold a lot of money in land, and just kind of sitting there, like, we don't know. There's been no details on it, nothing like that. So, it just seems like they're starting to get a little bit all over the map. And when I start to see some projects do this, where they're not laser focused on what they're doing, it starts to worry me a little bit here in crypto, especially things that are kind of like what I would feel would be outside their wheelhouse. Like, okay, tower defense kind of maybe fits in here, but maybe you found a way to like use the same cards in a different game, but they're not necessarily doing that. And then you throw in these like PFPs that are going to be on Ethereum. Like, it just seems like I don't know how they're all kind of tying in together either. And so I feel like they're just kind of throwing a lot of shit out there recently, and it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. As far as like one of these things is not like the other. One of these things just isn't the same. I know you guys
pick the one that
you guys aren't that old to get that one, but that's all good.
What are you talking
but just
about?
They don't seem to like fit each other, like little puzzle pieces that are like, why, how, what does it go? Like, where's the land? I don't.
let's
They
not
just try
forget
and do
also.
everything.
Let's not also forget the partnership with Warner Music Group that is pretty ambiguous on what is even going to come of that. The collaborative drop with Waka Flocka Flame for like another
Yeah.
extremely rare
Oof.
card
Well,
that
yeah,
like.
we don't talk about that one. We hide that one.
But
It was
I-
interesting. I mean, but at least it was on. It was a part of the game. Like they made a summoner, and it was something. Like I can get that because it made sense. Like it was part of the game. It wasn't some weird like play. Like like what are you trying to do? Like trying to be a gala, but like it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've been following Splinterlands because that's where I got my start on my channel,
Yeah.
and so I've been following. I still listen to their town halls every week, and I think part of the story for them is that they originally were launching Land before their game blew up, before that huge play to earn wave took off last year, and then they had an explosion of player growth that they could not even handle, like burning the servers. The game was like really not even playable at that point. And I think at that point they reimagined, okay, we have all this blow up. We have so many resources now. Let's reimagine Land. Let's reimagine what we can do. So they went from like a team of like 5 people to now they're over 100 employees. So it does seem like they're doing a lot right now, but it's also from what the team says is they have multiple teams working on multiple different things. It's not like, hey, we stopped working on Land so that we can do Rift Watchers and this PFP project. It's no, all these things are going simultaneously. So from that point of view, I don't see it necessarily as like they're pushing off things to do all these other things. Like the other games, the tower defense games, all those things are partnerships. They're not necessarily developing it themselves. I think one of the things that Splinterlands has always struggled with, and that's the thing I'm most frustrated by being within the game, is that they have had a really hard time marketing to people outside of the game. It's like this little tiny community on Hive and Splinterlands that no one else touches. So the open sea thing here that with the PFP project, while I'm not personally excited about it, the one thing I hope it does accomplish is what they hope to do is to actually explore outside of their little Hive community and bring in people that's, from that giant open sea ETH community. Will that work out? I don't know. I'm not totally sold on it, but at least it's a shot at it.
I mean, the liquidity these days for NFTs, even especially on Ethereum, is not great.
Yeah, man. I don't. I mean, that's the play. Like, I don't see. Yeah, PFP. Like, really, like, I just feel like you missed the boat on that. Like, it once again, like, and people are saying, oh, you got to dig deeper. I trust me. I've dug deeper. They haven't released anything new about Land gameplay. So if they are working on it, give us something, man. Drop us a nugget, dude. It's been a long time. People have invested thousands and thousands of dollars in Land stuff, So I get it. If you're working on it, great. In the background, it's concurrent, sure. But give us something. But like I said, these other things they didn't make sense because like what is the goal with them? Like it doesn't make sense to me of why they would be doing that and then kind of doing them all at the same time and they don't really connect in any kind of way, even if they're just like kind of consulting on some stuff. Okay, great. But there's other things that are part of your core gameplay that you just haven't delivered on. And I think that's a big thing, man. If people invested like that, you need to start delivering those things before you start adding more things that people are going to invest in.
Maybe,
I agree.
Oh, go for it, Igor.
Yeah, I would like to chime in on this because it's actually my most played Web3 game. I did stop recently and I sold a bunch of cards off, but I've been watching it very closely ever since about spring 2021. And it just feels like they kind of want to... They're like the guy at the buffet that tries a little bit of everything, He just goes across and he takes a little bit of the shrimp and, oh, they have steak too. And, ooh, let me take some of desserts because it might be gone soon. And that's what it kind of looks like, because if you look in there, they have... The thing is, they have a little bit of everything. As you said, they have Land gameplay. They have this quite complex game, to be honest. I mean, especially when you get into the higher up ranks, it's very competitive and it gets quite play to earny, as classic gamers would say, because you just can't outcompete the people with the better leveled cards if everything else is equal. And they add all these features. Now they have vouchers. They have airdrops and staking with crazy emissions, and they just keep adding, and it just feels like one of those artists that doesn't know when to stop minting new artworks, and by that he dilutes his old collectors and players. At some point, you just gotta take a step back and think about like what the core value proposition here is, and double down on that instead of trying new things. I always wish they went harder on the content creation or on tutorials or on working with streamers that actually promote their game. there should be tutorials that kind of make sense and that are presented in a easily consumable fashion on the landing page, for example, and stuff like that. They never really focused on the gameplay. I feel like they just keep adding packs, new cards. The Chaos Legion didn't sell as well as they hoped to. I mean, that all the discussions during the launch, it's going to be gone in a day or two. Is it sold out? I feel it's still not
Nope,
sold out,
still
right?
not
there's
gone.
like 28% or 29% still left, 30%, somewhere around there, right?
We got a
That's
whole
it.
new batch
We're
of
talking
cards to
about-
sell out too now.
Yeah,
Don't forget.
yeah,
Well,
it's
the Rift Watchers is much smaller of a set, so
Yeah.
there's at least that.
Well, no, and
yeah.
you know what we can hope for too. I mean, with the tower defense game and whatever else comes out, like, you know, maybe let's hope DEC gets used leveraged across the games. Like, you know, does it even have a use in
Yeah, in
Splinterlands?
tower
I mean,
defense,
really?
it is. Yeah, the DEC will be used in tower
All right.
defense, and that's great that they're finding more use cases for the tokens.
Yeah.
But once again, like I said, I feel like the focus is being lost a little bit. But
Yeah, I think what you said, Igor, sums up especially how I've been feeling about the game. It feels like Splinterlands is a game for people that like the game within the game. It's like what you just said of like how complex their economy and ecosystem is. It's like that's what people talk about most in their content creation for Splinterlands. It's not necessarily even the gameplay itself. It's not, hey, here's a cool strategy with these cards. It's, hey, what do you think is going to move next? Is it vouchers? Is it SPS? Like, what's your plan with these node licenses? Like, there's so much going on that it really seems to be appealing to more of those people who like the game within the game.
Yeah, I almost forgot about the node licenses. That honestly. No, but MTC, let's get your opinion on this. I mean, like, what do you think the most? I mean, Igor brought up a good suggestion of that, like making it more friendly for onboarding game, like people to play the game and learn how to actually play competitively, is something that they should be doing. And what, in your opinion, is maybe something that they should be doing to become a better, more popular game?
Well, I've been into Splinterlands. Like, I haven't kept up much with it lately, but I used to play quite often. I actually went live with Ken Bozek a few times playing Splinterlands, and we were having fun with it. But I thought it was a little complex as well. You know, like, especially for Gen Z, we like simple things. We like to come in a game and kind of like not read directions and just jump in and start doing things. With Splinterlands, you really have to read up on it, and you really have to be into it and things like that. And I really couldn't find any content on it, which is why, like, you know, I think it was great that Stache was even playing the game so people could see, you know, what was going on there. I think there definitely needs to be better onboarding. I think, you know, them being multi-chain does help because it just like opens, you know, their opportunities for other people to find them. I think maybe the wallets could be easier, just the gameplay could be a little bit easier and more explanation on like what everything really means. I know I had to play like for a few days to really understand what was going on there.
Only a few days? Dang, that's good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I tried. I learned really quick, but like, you know, a few days for me is a long time because, you know, like when I want to jump into something, I just want to do it. You know what I mean? Like to learn like a whole game is a lot for me. Like I want to just play. I want to have fun. And, you know, just like I like games that like you walk in and it's like, okay, this is what you do here. This is what you do here. And it reminds you a few times until you got the hang of it. And I was just very confused when I first started playing Splinterlands. But granted, it's a good game. I like the team behind them. I see them at almost every conference I'm at. So I think they're really cool people. I just think that the onboarding could be easier and a little bit easier to understand for the newbies,
100%.
especially because they, like you guys keep saying too, like they add new things all the time. And then like me that hasn't been on Splinterlands in quite a while is going to jump in. I don't really know what's going on. And it's just like, how is everything, again, tying together? And how can I even jump into all this stuff now? Do I have to have certain NFTs? Do I have to spend more money? Which is what another thing that, like, you know, I was sad about when I was first playing Splinterlands. Like, I couldn't even level up because I didn't have the right cards. And then I had to spend a lot of money to get the right cards. And for Gen Z, that's difficult as well.
Yeah, my biggest frustration with Splinterlands, honestly, is the fact that, like, you get to a point where you can play competitively enough, but then getting your card power collection high enough to like advance to the next league requires like some pretty either upgraded cards or like expensive,
or renting
a decent amount of investment. But renting is so complicated, man. It's like
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not easy, and like MTC was saying, it's just there's no tutorials, there's no, you know what I'm saying, like when you get on board there's no like real good introduction of like how to play. That's why when people get on my channel and they're brand new, and I onboard new people all the time into Splinterlands, and
Every
try and give them
Wednesday.
free assets to kind of get started and things like that too, because I know it's hard. And I'm just like, hey, the best thing is really just start messing around and playing, man. And if if you like it, then stick with it. But in general, TCGs are kind of one of the hardest games to learn. Like when you talk about how much knowledge you need to play a TCG, like Gods Unchained or Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, it's a massive amount of knowledge. Like you can jump in a Fortnite or, you know what I'm saying, like that, and you don't really have to know that much, man.
Exactly.
But a TCG, dude, you got to like study, and there's like so much strategy involved with it. So
8 moves ahead.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
it's literally like chess. It's literally chess.
Yeah,
but it's cool. Like if that's like your vibe, then of course, like play that game, enjoy that game, soak it all in. But at the same time, like it's gotta be better for the new players. Like I don't really know what's going on right now in Splinterlands. I looked at their new drop and I was like, all right. But again, it's like something that like I would be priced out of, or like any other like teenager. If you're trying to like hit the 13 to 18 demographic, having them purchase a $500 NFT is very difficult.
Yeah, well, it's $250 if you can get like your vouchers in and get whitelisted for it. But I mean, are any of y'all gonna be? Money. Yeah, I'm not getting in on this one. I don't think, unfortunately.
No. I mean, my NFT limit is like $100. Like I'm a cheapo when it comes to NFTs. So I mean, it's not for me.
I think we need something where, it's kind of like the PlayStation Store. I mean, Elixir is kind of, a cool launch pad now, but we need a place where you could just like, gain your access, like $19.99. You start playing the game like in Web 2 kind of feel. You buy the $19.99 game, you jump in, you play, and you're like, oh, I want to buy skins. I want to actually invest in it. Then I'll pick up some tokens to exchange for skins, or I'll just pay for the skin on the secondary market. We need something like that where you just come in, pay a fee if they want some, cash up front to keep the game going, keep the devs happy, and just, you start investing from there. That's what would make me happy, at least.
Yeah, don't hold us over the coals, damn it.
So meet us in the middle, guys. Like, I feel like, a lot of people are priced out. I mean, like, being able to, like, Axie Infinity helped a lot of people in like third world countries because it was like easy to get into at the start before things got too expensive. People were earning. We need like a cool opportunity like that again, where we could just come in, start earning, and then have a cool economy that flourishes until maybe a bridge hack happens.
Yeah. Maybe I would like to round this topic out by saying, because there's a lot of fair points that we can criticize there, but I gotta say it's one of the best competitive games if you play at the higher levels and if you're inside of a guild that I've ever played. Like the whole like gladiator set and inside the guild and the rumbles and then the points you get, like that's incredible. And you hype each other up like, oh, 2 more matches, come on guys, let's get it. And the ladder system there, excellent.
See, they have great features. There's great features in the game. It just there's just things missing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like the feature set they have in there is unparalleled when it comes to Web3 games. But there's other things that they're also lacking. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with you. Like the brawls, the guild system, rentals. There's all kinds of really cool things in there. It is complicated though, but it's cool to have them once you get to that kind of.
It's almost the interesting problem of Web3 games though, because part of the excuse that they've given of, oh, we're not doing all these tutorials and making the onboarding process easier is we want to fix the economy first, get everything in place so that we don't have to remake the tutorials when we fix everything and change the economy. So it's like, it's kind of a catch-22. It's like, okay, but at some point you just got to do it, because if you're just always focusing on the economy, you're never going to bring in new players. So I don't know what to do about that.
If your economy is more important than your game, then you will never have a successful game.
I think gameplay, like if anything, is really what's gonna like blow things up. Like I think we're just gonna have a banger of a game that people just genuinely enjoy playing, and then the blockchain comes second, and then you integrate, and everyone is happy from there. But I do think we just need a cool game. Granted, Splinterlands is awesome, and I gotta start playing it again.
Well, yeah, and even I'll change that a little bit, and even if the blockchain comes at all, is what we should be maybe asking, because there's a chance that none of this ever happens, and in our next topic here, we're going to talk about some bigger news in the crypto sphere and in the metaverse that I think has a lot of people worried or at least concerned, or some people are happy that it went over well. But the ETH merge and the general state of the market right now is another big piece of news, and how that kind of fits in with our vision of the metaverse, I think is really like an important thing to kind of talk about right now. So for you guys watching out there that don't know, you must be living under a rock if you're still here in crypto and didn't know that the Ethereum merge to proof of stake went over successfully. So no more ETH. Well, no more ETH proof of work once all the miners give up on what could be a chain that lasts a little bit longer, but who knows? But I want to know what this means moving from proof of work to proof of stake, and kind of the crypto market reaction to the successful merge means, for the next 5-10 years in crypto. Um, Luke, let me start with you. I mean, like what we saw right after the merge was that this is more of a sell the news event. I mean, the whole crypto market and especially Ethereum is down a boatload right now. And a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be something that like super ultrasound money, right? Or something like that was what people were calling Ethereum post merge. But the price doesn't seem to indicate that right now. I mean, why do you think that is? And like, what do you think this means? Do you think this is a good step in the right direction for games on being built on Ethereum?
Yeah, I mean, as far as price, that's always the case. I'm not a trader. I'm a gamer at heart. Like, that's why I'm in this space. But everyone has always told me since I've been in this space, hey, buy the rumor, sell the news. And so it doesn't surprise me. And honestly, I'm not concerned about the price. Crypto is crazy. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. Like, that's not my main concern. I think for Ethereum, it's a big one in general, though, because when play to earn games took off last year, like, it was very clear that, okay, Ethereum is not going to work anymore. Like, you saw games that were building, like especially like Gods Unchained was like one of the first play to earn games. Well, they had problems. They had to shut down the forge and eventually put everything onto Immutable X, which took a ton of time, right? And as a gamer that didn't want to come into the space and buy, $1,000, $2,000 NFTs, I was just priced out of ETH. I never used the Ethereum blockchain, maybe like once or twice as I was getting into it. I think me and the rest of my community, that's why we went to Splinterlands. That's why we went to Wax and things like that, because ETH was just like, unless you're doing something that's over $500, it wasn't worth it to pay for $100 gas fee, right? So I think this is bullish for ETH long term. You also got the layer 2s of Polygon and Immutable X. They're popping off for gaming right now. So I think there's good things ahead for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I mean, from a base layer protocol standpoint, I don't think the merge and proof of stake actually fixes the gas problem if there's still like full block space. I'm pretty sure there's still like all kinds of gas and like high fees that people are still gonna have to pay.
Sure. Well, I haven't even tested it out. Again, like I just never even use ETH. Like even now.
I mean, yeah, I'm the same way, man. I mean, I like anyone who is using Ethereum was especially for like NFTs and gaming, was someone who got rich off of Ethereum first and then started to like do things on the ecosystem, because they just had like, you threw $40 at Ethereum, or like, maybe not $40, but maybe you threw $1,000 at Ethereum when it was like, $8 or something like that, and now you've got a boatload of money and all all the capital and ether in the world to just throw away that you made overnight on games and things like that. But Stache, let me ask you, I mean, do you think this merge from proof of work to proof of stake will help ETH be a more competitive blockchain in the metaverse when you think about all of the other blockchains that right now that like Solana, Cardano, I mean, even like Luna Classic, I mean, is making a resurgence. I mean, do you think this makes ETH a more competitive blockchain for capturing like the metaverse market share?
So I think the biggest boon to Web3 gaming with this Ethereum merge really is the transition from the mainstream narrative of cryptocurrencies are bad because they're killing the environment and we got to get rid of these proof of work coins. And so I think the biggest boost I think that we'll see with Web3 gaming is essentially then these games now being able to claim, hey, look, we're, yes, maybe we're on, a side chain, but look, Ethereum is no longer this big, massive hog of energy, and it's not polluting the environment anymore. Because as much as, and there's details in there that we can get into, like I said, I'm not going to get, because the mainstream doesn't care about details. They don't care about what actually is the truth. They care about the narrative, right? And the narrative that the mainstream media is spinning is what they care about. they could dig in and find all the details and be like, oh my gosh, well, no, it actually isn't. And there's these great things about this. But I think that with this change, it's easy for the mainstream media to say, oh, look, Ethereum is now environmentally friendly. Great. And so all the things you see on Ethereum are now, in that same category. It'll literally make people think, oh, okay, well, great. Well, I don't feel so bad about playing a game that is on Ethereum, whether it's on a layer, whether it's layer 1 Ethereum or whether it's a scaling solution like Immutable or Polygon. So I think that's the biggest change and biggest boon that I've seen here for gaming, in my opinion. I think it's going to be just the narrative that the mainstream is spewing out there. And there's a lot of people that just don't, they just whatever the news tells me, that's just what I'm going to believe. And gamers are no different. Gamers are no different.
Gamers are no different. I mean, I hope that is the case, at least too, especially when you think about all the resources that we have already put into Ethereum, and especially the layer 2 solutions, ones that we're good fans of, like Immutable X and Polygon, that have some really cool games on them that we like to play. Gods Unchained. We had Sunflower Land on the other day, which was cool. One of the cool ones on Polygon that takes up a lot of their like a ton of transactions or a lot of activity going on. But MTC, let me ask you, I mean, like, what do you think will happen now that ETH is proof of stake over the next 5 years, especially when, like, considering what Stache is saying about how this kind of changes the narrative for it from like an environmental friendliness standpoint? Do you think it'll still be the #1 smart contract platform, and continue to be that?
I think we're too early to dictate what's going to be the #1 smart contract, like, platform, blockchain. We're way too early to call that because, there could be something that comes out tomorrow, that launches tomorrow, that blows all of us away, that has better tech than everything. I think we're way too early to decide on that. I do think overall adoption of ETH is going to be helped because I know people that are very ESG forward are fans of proof of stake, even though I think that's just FUD to begin with, this whole energy consumption issue. This is an argument that has been debunked, at least on the Bitcoin side, for a long time. ETH is no different. So I think, of course, whatever the narrative is at the moment, which is energy efficiency, ETH moving to proof of stake, that's great. And, good for ETH. But I do think we're too early to call what's going to be the best platform because you never know. Like something like Wax could just like explode really fast, and everyone's going to be moving to Wax. People could move to Solana and be like, oh, Solana's the next big thing. I got to do that because Solana was really laying low for a while until they gained some hype, and now Solana is a really big deal and one of the top blockchains to use in terms of gaming and smart contracts. So you really never know. ETH is definitely going to be up there though.
It could even be Fedcoin. What if everything's
oh my
like
gosh, man.
they got the CBDC coming from the bank now. They just slap smart contracts on that, and now if you want to be a Web3 game in the US, you got to run Fedcoin.
I mean, Misting Crypto, we're so early that's the whole point, is that you can throw out anything you want and no one will remember. So I'll just say, hey, ETH from 1 down to 7 in 5 years. You're going to fall all the way to 1%.
It's so funny because, people are arguing proof of stake over proof of work. Like, why are we even arguing over that? We're way too early. There could be, again, like another consensus that comes out of nowhere, and that's better than both. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't know. We're way too early. This technology is still so young, and I think people really forget that sometimes. Like, NFTs aren't even ready to be adopted mainstream by games and things like that. Like, what makes you think that, ETH is going to be adopted by the whole world and be #1? It still very much could be, but, we're still really early. There's so much development to be made. I was talking to a college student this morning that's running a blockchain club at his college, and there's 19-year-olds there developing games. You never know which one of these 19-year-olds sitting at their desk right now developing something is going to come out of the woodworks with something really huge in the next few years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Igor,
I think that's spot on. So we're asking a question like, where is it going to end up and which chain is going to dominate? And that is a question that maybe 5 years is an underestimation. Maybe it's more like a 10 to 12 year question. Who knows? But I think it makes sense to ask the question, what is the next step, or what is the next 2 to 3 steps, right? Chess player. So I think the next step is going to be, the next big step is going to be, we need to find an application that actually works and that people want to use, independent of the investment aspect of it. A thing we've all talked about this a million times in a million different scenarios, but we need that one killer app that works, right? And then there's going to be a playbook that gets developed around that. So let's just say, okay, I might be biased because I cover Other Side by Yuga Labs, but let's just say that's the killer product that brings in the masses, right? That's kind of my thesis. That's why I'm covering it. Then they're going to develop an entire playbook, right? They're planning their own ape chain. They have a way of developing their IP, and they're going to have a playbook that other people will be able to copy. And then all the copycats come in, right? All the copy pasters, and we're just going to get a flood of things that work, right? And they're going to try and outcompete and take market share away from the leader. Just like on Instagram, we had 8 years ago, we had 8 years ago, we had the first big travel influencers, let's say, right? And then thousands of smaller travel influencers came out and copied their playbook. The same thing is going to happen here, although here you need to be way more capitalized and experienced, and you need a team and everything. But at that point, we're going to have a lot of different chains, and then the best ones are going to survive. And I think by ETH being so early and so efficient, it's always going to have a use case, but it's impossible to say if it's going to come out on top. But I think there's going to be many chains. There's going to be a flood of chains at a certain point, and then just the ones that have users, and the network effects will survive. And those will rise to the top, and that's what we'll be left with in 15 years, let's say. I think that's going to be the trajectory of it. So the first question here is, what is the killer app? And that's what I'm trying to decipher here on an everyday basis, looking through all this info that we get flooded with. I think that
I know what it is. You guys want me to tell you?
What is it, Stache? Yeah, tell
Drop
us.
the alpha.
Of course.
It's gaming, baby. That's why we're here. It is gaming.
Woo!
When you talk about the killer app, gaming is it, man. That's where we're gonna see it. It's ownership of your assets and digital skins.
Agreed.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's almost. Oh, I was just gonna say it's interesting to watch. It's pretty much an arms race now. I feel like just talking to the chains, it seems like the chains are trying to bring on so many games because I think that's their theory as well. It's like, how do you create that network effect? You bring in all the best games and you sign to a deal and you get some funding towards them.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean we've got some front runners already kind of leading the way here, and I think the next few years are going to be really interesting to see who kind of ekes out on top in the Web3 metaverse gaming race to the top here. That's all. We're running out of time here, folks. We got one thing last to say, MTC?
Yeah, I was also thinking, like, we're still so early that other games are developing on one blockchain and then moving to the other. Like we were talking about one earlier. What was the one you mentioned earlier that went from one blockchain to another? We're just too early to decide what blockchain is the winner, because how many blockchains are going to be abandoned and then the games left on them are going to be like, oh, sheesh, like I need to go somewhere else. I need to find a different plan. Where's the community at? Then they go to another blockchain. So we're going to see a lot of blockchain hopping too, until everything becomes more interoperable and everyone wants to be friends instead of separating each other.
Yeah, and everyone, there's a little bit too much division in the crypto world, especially when it comes to the different, this is my chain, I only like playing projects on this chain, et cetera, et cetera. Like, why are you fanboying and girling over a tech product and a company that's, got millions of dollars? Like, who cares? It's just do whatever you want.
That's how humans do it.
Do whatever
man.
you want.
Yeah.
But we're running out of time here tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for tuning in and watching. Don't forget to go ahead and smash that like and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And then don't forget to go to the description and hit the links for all of the creators who came on here and do the same for them. We got Igor, we got Luke, we got Miss Teen Crypto. Make sure you spread the love to their channels as well, like we do out here in Web3. And then don't forget to tune in again next week for another episode of Around the Metaverse. That's all we have tonight, folks. We out.